Hello, everybody. The Canadians play probably one of their worst games of the season against the Columbus Blue Jackets, losing 5-2 in what would be the last game of the season for the Canadians on home ice. In game 80 of the season here, definitely not a great effort. Not a whole lot of good things come out of this game at all. So definitely just kind of a disappointing one all the way around. It doesn't affect us too much in terms of standings. Obviously, we would like to be getting as many points as possible for the purpose of getting home ice advantage in the playoffs and, being as high up in the standings as we can be. Obviously, we still got 2 games to see what we can do and see where we fall in terms of playoff positioning here. But, it's definitely unfortunate to, go up against a team who is currently outside of the playoff picture and not find a way to get a win there. Just not a really whole lot of good things to say here. There's just not a whole lot going on. Nobody really showed up. Not even Dobesh. Like Dobesh had a pretty tough game as well. So it was just kind of unfortunate all the way around. But we got outshot, by 10 on home ice, 10, 11 on home ice in the last game of the season. Very much a different picture from where we were at the final home game of the season last year. Definitely a different note. But, obviously we still got to keep our heads high for sure. We got 104 points on this season. We still got 2 games left to play on the road. We are making the playoffs. That's already, signed and sealed here. And, in general, if you're going to get a bad game in there, you would like to have that bad game happen now as opposed to, in game 1 of the playoffs and beyond there. So definitely get all of that out of our system. I think that's a great idea. I think the only thing that we can kind of hope for from this game is that the injury stuff doesn't come back to haunt us and linger into the playoffs here. Obviously, we'll get into the game a little bit, but it looks like, Demidov was hit. He came back into the game, so I'm pretty sure he'll be okay. But Dobson is the main one we have to worry about a little bit. It looked like he took a slap shot off the thumb, might have broken the finger there. We'll have to cross our fingers and hope that that's not the case, but we'll have to see here. A broken bone of any kind is probably going to be, 4 to 6 weeks or so of a recovery time, which is definitely going to bleed into the playoffs, potentially the entirety of the first round, depending on, the severity of the injury. So hopefully we can, kind of cross our fingers that that's not going to be something that takes him out long term. I think either way, considering the fact that these last 2 games are largely not incredibly important, I think we should probably rest him no matter what, just to, not, to take all the precautions that we can. We don't want to make things any worse in a regular season game that really doesn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of things, but still very unfortunate to see a guy go down with injury, not being able to return to the game, especially when that guy is Noah Dobson, who has been incredible all year for the Canadians. So it's very unfortunate there. Good to see Demidov come back, though. We like to see that. But yeah, like all of a sudden, it's tough in the last couple of games of the season to get some injury stuff going on that really hurts us moving forward here. So going into the game here, we go down 2-0 early on in the first period. Not much to write home about. Just nobody's really showing up, nobody doing what they need to be doing. It's frustrating, especially considering the fact that we know how good this team can play. It's frustrating when things, like we kind of revert back to our old ways and we don't really show up when we're supposed to. It just makes for a really frustrating watch there. Josh Anderson ended up scoring a nice one for his 14th goal of the season there near the end of the first period. Nice goal there. Jake Evans does a lot of the grunt work to get that one to happen there. It's Jake Evans' 12th assist of the season. I believe it's his 100th career assist as well. I think I saw something like that, so that's exciting for him. But yeah, very nice cross-ice pass that Anderson is able to tap home for, again, his 14th goal of the season. Lane Hudson gets a cheeky second assist on that one for his 64th assist of the season, so very nice from all 3 of those guys. A very nice pass from Jake Evans to make that thing happen there. And then into the second period, more more Columbus just kind of pushing us to the limits there. We get scored on very early on in the second period, as we did in the first period. So just again, more of just like the worst case scenario all the way around. It's just very frustrating to have stuff like that happen, especially against a team who and to be fair, they are fighting for their lives. They're not necessarily eliminated from playoff contention, but they are very much they're fighting for their lives is really what it is. Their only hope is sneaking into that third in the Metro position and kicking out the Flyers. So they really needed that win more than anything. The Canadians not really in the same boat, so it does make sense that they're really pushing us to the limit there. They want to do everything they possibly can to win this game and make the playoffs, but it's still frustrating to see, considering the fact that we are gearing up for a playoff run, and we want to be on our A game whenever possible there. So frustrating. But we go into the third period, and Cole Caulfield, of course, it's Saturday night, right? Even in a game where nobody's really, playing their best, Cole Caulfield is still going to show up and score goals when he can. Gets his 51st of the season, and it's an absolute snipe. Obviously, again, like nobody should be surprised. It's Cole Caulfield. That's just what he does. But pretty much like on the goal line, all the way back by like the wall on the goal line, he gets the puck and just kind of rips it past Jet Greaves there for an absolute nasty goal. It brings him to 51 in the season. Suzuki and Slafkovsky should be buying him dinner tonight for even, giving him, for even getting assists on that goal there. That is just Cole Caulfield just doing what he does best, just ripping pucks, and it's unbelievable what he can do there. So, again, that's 51st goal of the season for Cole Caulfield. Suzuki gets his 71st assist there, and Slafkovsky his 42nd assist. That brings Suzuki up to 99 points on the season. So now we are on 100-point watch for Nick Suzuki, and we got 2 games left in the season. So obviously we'll cross our fingers. Hopefully that will happen as we go to the final 2 games here. But looking very good there. And again, it's not a Habs game if we don't get a goal from the big trio there. So very good to see those guys make things happen there. But not to be outdone, Charlie Cole kind of ices things on the power play a little while later to make it 5-2, and then that's pretty much all she wrote on that one. So not a whole lot going on there. It's just a very much a different energy than what we had against Tampa the other day. Just a very different energy. We just did not bring it. It feels like again, like it's like, I think what it really is just we have a young team. We have a team that is very much emotionally driven because of their youngness. They're not a whole. They're not very experienced. So I think what really is the case here is I feel like, we had the high of, Cole Caulfield, reaching 50, and then we had a little bit of anxiety coming from, trying to get him that 50th goal, which wavered our performance a little bit. And then he did get that his 50th goal, and then that kind of boosted us back up. And now that he's gotten that 50th goal, I feel like that may have, inadvertently taken the wind out of the sails a little bit, given us, we kind of shifted our focus for those couple games there on trying to feed Cole and trying to get him that 50th goal. And now that that's, come and gone, and he's even eclipsed that, it's not necessarily the goal anymore. So now we need to kind of reorient our focus and refocus on, just playing solid hockey and pushing for the playoffs here. I think that's the biggest thing is just, it's a new season, right? In a couple days, once game 82 comes and goes, we're going to start the playoffs, and it's going to be a brand new season. We're going to start with a fresh, a clean slate there. So we had to find a way to refocus there. So I think it's really just, the youngness of this team, the lack of experience that this group has of, being a team that's actually contending for something. I feel like, even in last year when we made the playoffs, it still wasn't necessarily, due to the fact that we were, a contender or anything like that. But now things have kind of changed a little bit. We're starting to come up into that. So we're trying to learn a little bit about what that all entails, and how we should act accordingly there. So I think that's pretty much what it is, and that's really all I have to say about this game as a whole. It was just nothing to write home about. The Canadians, as I just said, they need to refocus. They need to reorient towards playoff hockey, and they need to, go into, these last 2 games with the objective of, like getting those last little kinks worked out, and, finding ways to reorient ourselves and reshift our focus towards playoff hockey and fighting for that Stanley Cup. So, obviously it's easier said than done. Obviously it's going to be, a grind no matter what, as we go into the last, 2 games here and then into the Stanley Cup playoffs there. So Easier said than done. I think Martin St. Louis needs to take a little bit of ownership of that responsibility of reorienting their focus and getting them back to, the task of just playing solid hockey and getting back to, what makes this team successful. But yeah, I think that should be the goal there. That should be what we need. Obviously, we're still stat watching both in the standings and in our, our personal stats of trying to get Suzuki his 100th goal there. We still want to watch Cole Caulfield versus Nathan MacKinnon and see who ends up getting that rocket Richard. With Cole's goal today, he does end up pulling within one of Nathan MacKinnon there. So with 2 games left, I think the Avalanche have 3 games left there, so they have a little bit of an advantage, as I mentioned the other day as well. But that we're only 1 goal away. It just takes one good night for Cole Caulfield to get a 2-goal night, maybe even 3 goals, and then that's really all he needs. And then hopefully getting some luck the other way, and it's definitely still within reach for Cole Caulfield to get the Rocket win there. So it'll be interesting to watch that. Obviously, we want Suzuki to get that 100th point, so that'll be some good stuff to watch in the last 2 games here. But I think, again, as I mentioned, what we're really focused on is just kind of reorienting our focus. We want to get geared up mentally and physically for the playoffs here, so that honestly, as I'm saying, it's all about the playoffs now. It's all about, trying to compete for that Stanley Cup. I don't care what happens in terms of results for these last 2 games of the season here. The only thing that matters to me is that the Canadians find a way to shift our focus and get mentally, physically prepared, so that when we're ready for game 1 of the playoffs here, and we can take it to whoever it ends up being that we face in that first round here. So again, that is pretty much all I have for this one. Not much to write home about this game. Stat watching, exciting stuff. We got 2 more games left, but we need to reshift our focus and find a way to be ready for game 1 of the playoffs there. So again, that is all I have for you guys on this one. We play another game tomorrow afternoon, evening-ish, against the New York Islanders in Long Island. It'll be another game against a team who is definitely fighting tooth and nail to try to find their last-minute ticket to the playoffs here. They have an outside chance, as do Columbus, of trying to find a way into that playoff picture there. So they're going to be a team that's fighting, with every last breath. They want to do everything possible to beat us. Hopefully we can have a little fun, play some spoiler in game 81, get some stats that we want to see on the board there, and get a big win. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you after a big win, hopefully, but hopefully just in general a better game, a more energetic, enthusiastic, focused game from the Canadians against the Islanders tomorrow.